You have sex. Do you use protection?
No, ma'am.
So no protection. No protection,
No.
Mr. Brooks?
No.
Just meet a young girl and take her to the motel and have unprotected sex.
That's mine.
You take the condom wrappers in the dive?
Yeah, I was young doing stuff. So.
And then you did a rating?
No, I didn't do no rating.
Were you ever just there?
Were you talking to me?
I was talking to you.
Then shut up.
Now you no.
You shut up.
Mr. Davis, first of all, I control this courtroom.
Mrs. Smith claims that her teenage crush on the much older Mr. Brooks led to her getting pregnant more than 2 decades ago. She insists that Mr. Brooks has denied fathering her son ever since she got pregnant. Now she wants to prove that he is indeed her son's father. Mr. Brooks says he did not know Jimmy until the boy was about 12 years old, and that Miss Smith was seeing other men around the time he was born. So there is no way that he could be the father. Let us learn how this relationship even started.
We met in the neighborhood through a mutual friend in the neighborhood that Mr. Brooks used to cut his hair. So I kind of like knew Mr. Brooks through him, and I just had a crush on him.
Oh, you did?
Yes. Yes,
so you
Your
had
Honor.
an innocent little crush on him?
Yes, Your Honor.
And how did it develop into a romantic relationship?
We never had a romantic relationship because I never had a chance to know him.
So how did it turn into a sexual relationship?
Well, that just sounds like innocent teenage romance, doesn't it? So how did it get intimate enough to produce a child? Here is what Ms. Smith has to say.
He wound up taking me out. We were supposed to go to the movies, but we wound up going to a cheesy motel that he could afford.
And you have sex with him?
Yes, and I was a virgin, and he knew it.
Was that the only time you had sex with Mr. Brooks?
Yes, one, and I'm happy. I'm happy that was my only time. So.
And you believe that one night is what resulted in?
If it is one time, then it is one time. And one time is all it takes to get that pregnancy show on the road. Mr. Brooks says that Ms. Smith did not even want to go to the movies, and she just wanted to go straight down to the hotel. Mr. Brooks also says he never knew that Ms. Smith was a younger woman when she had a crush on him.
She didn't decide where she wanted to go at, so I said, well, let's go to the hotel somewhere.
And so take me to the days so you have sex. Do you use protection?
No, ma'am.
So no protection. No protection,
No.
Mr. Brooks?
No.
Just meet a young girl and take her to the motel and have unprotected sex. And so at some point, Miss Smith, you realize you're pregnant.
Yes.
When? Take me to that day.
That is just how it goes for Mr. Brooks. That is just how it goes. When Ms. Smith realized she was pregnant, she told her mother, but she did not go into details about who she thought the father of the child was. She did tell her that it was an older man, but made sure not to say his name. It was not until later on she made that known.
Did you tell Mr. Brooks or did your mother call Mr. Brooks?
I told him.
And
I
so,
told him
Mr.
that
Brooks, did she call you or was it in person? Do you remember?
Well,
when you found out she was
I
pregnant?
never found out
You was
nothing
so
about
lying.
no pregnancy.
You lying, Mr. Brooks.
So you're saying you never found out
I
she
never
was
found
pregnant
out.
at all?
I never found out.
He's lying, Your Honor. Matter of fact, I walked to the neighborhood store and he saw me and Kevin ran.
To be honest, Mr. Brooks does look like a runner. Ms. Smith says at this point, he knew she was pregnant because everyone in the neighborhood knew. This means that Mr. Brooks ran away because he did not want to shoulder the responsibility of having a child. But when she did eventually get a hold of him, he told her that the pregnancy could not be his.
I seen him at that same corner store and he said, why did you name him that stupid name? Why he doesn't have my name?
That never happened. That
He's
never happened.
lying, Your Honor. Your Honor,
never
we
happened.
met.
That
Kevin
never
was in
happened.
the store and you gave me a few dollars. That's the time that I bought my son, Jimmy, an outfit and a pair of tennis shoes and some Pampers. You don't remember that?
Mr. Brooks says he only found out about Jimmy when the boy was 12, and at that point he asked her why he did not have a chance to be in his life, if that was truly his son.
When Jimmy was 12 years old, we found out that Kevin Brooks was deceased.
Well, who told
Really?
you I was deceased?
We went to court because I was
Who
getting in
told
the
you I was
military,
deceased?
and the courts in where we was in Virginia ran that they have to have both parents involved before they could give any guardianship to another family member. So when I gave them Kevin Brooks' name and the court system had to run it through the system, birthday and all.
So we have a dead man in court. Somehow it is not the most outrageous thing we have seen. But here is the thing. If Ms. Smith says she could not find Mr. Brooks when Jimmy was 12, how can Mr. Brooks say he met her when Jimmy was 12 and she told him about Jimmy? Well, it turns out that it is all a lie. At least that is what Ms. Smith thinks.
I don't understand that.
I was in the old neighborhood.
He never met me when Jimmy was 12. You're lying. He's lying. He did not see me when Jimmy was 12.
You were in the old neighborhood and what happened?
She came in the neighborhood and she said, we have a son. And I said, well, how old is he? She said, he's 12. I said, well, how come I haven't met him yet?
Put yourself in Mr. Brooks' shoes. Imagine sleeping with a young woman over 2 decades ago and then getting informed that you might have a whole child. It's no wonder why he is fighting tooth and nail for this child not to be his.
This is the encounter you're talking about, Mr. Brooks, but Ms. Smith says this happened over social media, not in person.
The only thing happened to social media, she sent me a fake Facebook page.
Oh my God, he is a liar, Your Honor. And
Tell me how you kept searching for him. I want to get this. They tell you he's deceased. You say you don't believe that, so you started doing what?
my own research. When I would go home, back and forth home to New Orleans.
Once Ms. Smith knew that Mr. Brooks wasn't deceased, she searched for him even harder and was not that surprised when she discovered that he was alive on Facebook. And this happened only a year before the case. But Mr. Brooks says that he was tricked and deceived into accepting her Facebook request, but how does that even matter?
Another picture of
Was it another picture, or was it just that you hadn't seen her in so long you didn't know who it was?
It was a whole nother picture of an
I look
officer.
the
It was an
same.
officer that had been
I am
deceased.
an officer.
If she'd have used her face, I would never accept her
Okay,
request.
so once you found out it
liar.
was her, obviously the conversation turned to Jimmy.
No, it turned to us.
It turned to
The
she wanted
conversation
to-
was
she-
starting with us. And then we would talk almost every other day.
Ms. Smith says that she was also talking about other things with Mr. Brooks, and you can guess what those other things are. She also says she had feelings for him, even though she said earlier that she was thankful she only slept with him once, which is weird. But this does not matter to Mr. Brooks one bit. He insists that he is not Jimmy's father.
Are you going to be truthful about it, Mr. Brooks?
I already told you, I don't think I'm his dad.
You are his father, and stop it. You are his father.
You were sleeping with
You was
other
the
people.
only man I ever
You were
slept
sleeping with
and
other
I was a
people.
virgin. Thank you.
I don't think so.
You were probably
And you
high.
know.
That's why you didn't know.
And then they tried to get a DNA test for Jimmy, and Mr. Brooks decided to run like he did all those years ago.
When I walked to the car and I looked back, he was gone. I went down a couple blocks, looked for him, and then I wound up seeing him. So I hopped out the car. When I hopped out the car, I was like, yo, what you doing? So he kept going.
He was
He
right.
he was running or walking?
He was
Running.
Running.
I was chasing him for a minute, man.
He's right. I mean, it's,
I mean, it wasn't hard to
I mean,
know, but-
this is, I mean, sometimes you just gotta laugh.
You may think, wow, this cannot get worse. This is so embarrassing, and Mr. Brooks cannot go lower than this. But you would be very wrong because he did something even more ridiculous.
And then when I leave, he gonna call me, ask me, can he move in my crib? I'm like,
What?
are you tweaking?
yes, he
So-
wanted to come to Virginia with us. And I was going to give him that opportunity just so he can have a relationship with his son and his granddaughters.
So, Mr. Brooks, how is it that you can go all of these years without providing anything for your son, a child that could be your son?
Okay then, Mr. Brooks, we may not be able to find the truth about this, but we can find out whether you are the father of Jimmy. And that is what the DNA test will do. Let us see what it has to say.
Mr. Brooks, you are the father.
I told you. I was a virgin.
You are the father.
And the only thing I lied about was
Well,
my age.
that's the only part I came here for, to find out the results. All the other lies.
Miss Rubin is in court today with her sister, and she has one problem. She says her father, Mr. Davis, whom she has always known as her father their whole life, now claims that he isn't their dad. She says that his claims are fraudulent and he is driven by greed. They also say his denial has driven their family apart, and they want to get to the bottom of his paternity doubt. Mr. Davis, on the other hand, says he has very legitimate reasons to doubt the paternity of his kids, but still loves them.
He always denied me. He always treated me differently. I just feel like he never treated me fair. With my brother and sister, he will bring things around like one Christmas, he bring a whole bunch of toys around, get them toys on top of toys, and then tell them, oh, play with your sister. Never brought me anything, always treated me differently. It's just, he never showed no love towards me. I'm always the one that was begging for his love when he was just giving all his love to both of them.
Janita Rubin, Miss Rubin's sister, says she's noticed this as well, and that it was something her father always did. Mr. Davies, surprisingly enough, also admits that he has been a really horrible father to Ms. Rubin. But guess what? He has a very good excuse, or so he says.
Yes, please.
The reason why I treated Cheryl the way I treated her, because her mother slept around.
You was a liar.
Your mother did sleep.
Now,
Okay, first of all, neither one of you all was in there when it started, okay? She had 3 kids before I met her.
Okay,
she had
don't
you
mean
3,
she slept around.
supposedly
She
had
was
you
with
3
him
with
first.
me, and now she has
don't mean
how
she
many
slept
more after
around.
me?
She was
I did a
with him
grand
first.
total of 13.
Come on, you ain't did
13
nothing
kids?
anyways. You
Ladies
nothing.
and gentlemen.
Okay.
Okay, Okay, that was a lot. Well, Mr. Davies, someone having any number of kids before getting into a relationship with you doesn't mean they were sleeping around while they were with you. You know that, right? Anyway, Judge Lauren has some hard-hitting questions for Mr. Davies here.
Over one another. Mr. Davis, you believe their mother had slept around and was unfaithful to you. You were in a relationship at the time, which caused you to then doubt whether or not you were her father in particular.
Not necessarily her.
All the children?
You're correct. You're correct.
Okay. Did you express this concern to her?
No, I didn't express it to her.
You just always kept it to yourself.
You shouldn't keep paternity doubts to yourself. That's one thing I can tell you for free. But then Mr. Davies shows us exactly why his daughters seem to be so angry with him.
Mr. Davis, I need to know from you whether you ever were in all of their lives as a father. Were you ever just there?
No. Were you talking to me?
I was talking to you.
Then shut up.
Now you no.
You shut up.
Mr. Davis, first of all, I control this courtroom. Now, you can take it to the street and you'll be out on the street, because we're not going to act a fool in here.
Even if Ms. Rubin turns out not to be his child, not getting her toys and gifts for her when she was under his care is actually a pretty terrible thing to do to a child. And Judge Lauren agrees completely.
What would make a man go to the store and get toys for 2 of 3 children and walk into a house and disappoint a child for no reason? You should have brought her a toy. If she wasn't your child, if she was your enemy's child, you should have brought her something, because she's a child.
Mr. Davies tries to explain why he did this, but he keeps arriving at the same point. The point is this: Ms. Rubin's mother slept around, so he wasn't sure she was his child, and he decided to spend his money in a way that reflected that. But during his explanation, he pauses to argue with his daughters like any good present father.
If they knew the whole picture instead of half the picture.
So when you were
I believe I was talking to the judge. I believe I was talking to the judge.
With their mother, you would have a child, but then you'd question whether or not that child was yours.
Exactly.
But then you'd end up back in the relationship.
We seesaw back and forth together.
Only to have another child.
I don't even know if that child's mine either.
Then you question if it was yours.
Well, Mr. Davies, it looks like you have a discipline problem. If you didn't like Ms. Rubin's mother, you ought to have left her alone. But instead of doing that, you decided to treat the child she had awfully. It's little wonder Ms. Davies has such strong opinions about her father now.
Right, after my first child, like I said, when I met her, and she had 3 kids before I met her.
That has nothing to do with what's going on now.
While we was having a relationship, I don't believe I believe the judge was talking to me.
Why make broken promises then?
Okay,
why sit right there and act like
that's on me.
Like graduation. I told you. I said,
can I answer your question? Can I answer your question?
Everything you ever did.
Can I answer your question?
At this point, you start to wonder why Mr. Davies even turned up at this court, knowing that his daughter would take him to task on everything he did to her.
I asked you 2005, that's the last time I seen your face. It's 2013. I asked you, I say, all you gotta do, I'll forgive you for everything you ever done wrong to me, if you doubted me or whatever the case is. Show up to my graduation. You can say I'm lying or whatever. I can tell my brother right here to vouch for it. You told me yes. I said 2 tickets for you and Carlita.
Hopefully, the Lord doesn't watch paternity court, because he will be rather disappointed. But here's the thing. Mr. Davies says he has doubts about all the kids, but somehow Ms. Rubin is the one treated worse. Why? Does he have an explanation?
Why is it that your doubt is projected onto her singly?
I treated Jonathan and Janita, I actually embraced them. Matter of fact, Janita I treated her like gold, just like my oldest child.
If I'm your golden child, you would have been there for your golden child.
Really? Okay.
Even if you not giving that money, call, come see. Every time I talk to him, he ain't got no money to do nothing.
You never talked to me.
Nope, he doesn't. But he does have a clever quip for his daughter after she explained what his absence meant to her.
Use a lot.
No, talk to
and as that,
court.
I didn't have a man figure like in my life to tell me how to treat guys. I guys treat me, so I look the guys like for love and everything. Like can like them 1 minute and be gone next minute. I can have sex 1 minute and be gone or whatever. It's just like he have not been there.
So you were sleeping around. You were promiscuous. You could not.
Apple don't fall too far from the tree.
You feel like you were looking for a father?
Yep, and we are kind of tired of watching this man show who he is. It's time for the DNA test to let us know exactly who he is. Is Mr. Davies the father of Ms. Rubin? Let's find out.
Mr. Davis, you are the father. In the case of Cheryl Rubin, this court has determined that you are her father.
You already knew that. Already knew that.
What up? Child support, here I come.
Must Mustafa Matlock says that a few years back, he was called away on family business. He says while he was absent, his partner Ms. Monroe invited her former lover to move into his family home. When he returned, he resumed sleeping with her. But now Ms. Monroe tells him that she has serious doubts about the paternity of her child. She also says that when he left for family business, he stopped talking to her, and that's why she moved her former lover in.
She knew I was done down in that area. Back in '07, I was down there for a week.
No, you said
Yeah,
you
no,
were,
it was a
you
week.
said you were going to be
No,
gone a weekend
it wasn't.
and you
It
were gone a
was
month.
a week. You're
you
lying.
Were gone a
it
month.
was a week.
You were gone a month.
Anyway, Your Honor.
You were gone a month.
When I was gone for a week.
No, you.
In a week?
In 1 week, Your Honor.
And find out to the house.
Well, if you leave your home, partner brings in her love, you should be grateful.
You're
You were
lying.
gone a
It
month.
was a week.
You were gone a month.
Anyway, Your Honor.
You were gone a month.
When I was gone for a week.
No, you were gone a
week.
month.
She moved her ex into our home.
In a week?
In 1 week, Your Honor.
At what point do you find out that she's moved another man into the house?
From her.
Yeah, I told you. At least I was honest.
Ms.
At least I was
Monroe,
honest.
Ms. Monroe, I want to hear
about the
from
baby?
you. So
Not honest
he's
about the
gone.
baby.
Mr. Matlock says that he didn't feel like he had to spend hours on the phone with her while he was spending time with his son.
You
Call
should
her
still have
every
to talk
waking
to me if
minute,
I'm your
'cause
girlfriend. You
she's
should care.
jealous about.
You
she
should
got
care.
jealousy issues,
I'm
thinking
not-
I'm sleeping with
If you would have gave me a
every
reason,
woman
then I
on
wouldn't
the
have
block.
jealousy issues.
Let's get some order. Let's get some order. Ms. Monroe, when he went out of town, did he voluntarily call you at all while he
No.
was gone?
Lies.
Maybe.
Not one
Lies.
call.
Maybe. Yeah.
Really? Is that really how it goes? And all of that happened in a month? Ms. Monroe must be the fastest woman to move on ever. Anyway, Mr. Matlock returned home. The ex moved out and they continued their relationship. But then Mr. Matlock found out from his sister that Ms. Monroe was pregnant. Then he asked her who the father was, and here is what she said.
She looked at me and
I
said,
was honest.
"You're not the father." Real talk. Can't make it up. That's what she said. You are not the father. So I'm not taking care of somebody else's baby, and you tell me that that baby is not my baby.
So once you heard that,
Catch my cut, and I was
deuces.
gone. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
That's not
Yeah,
my
You didn't say
exact-
that.
Ms. Monroe wasn't the father because they'd been sleeping together without protection for 18 months and hadn't gotten pregnant. But just around the time her ex moved in, she got pregnant. That's good logic, Ms. Monroe. Anyway, me Matlock says the child could belong to anyone, even Jerome.
But
beautiful
at the
little
same
girl.
time, I don't think it's my baby. I don't think it's my baby.
so you don't think the child looks like you? You don't,
Man,
you
that
don't
could be
feel any
Jerome's
attachment?
baby.
You
She
talking
would-
about this Jerome?
That
Jerome!
No, it's not mine.
She looked a little dark to be his baby.
You
That
better not
man
mess
right
with
there.
Jerome.
It could be
She a
his
little
baby.
dark
So
to
the
be
point
his baby.
is that you have.
And that's it. Once you ring that bell, you cannot unring it. Once you tell a man that a child isn't his, then the child isn't his. But then Ms. Monroe changed her mind about Mr. Matlock being the father of the child.
Her sister are friends.
Okay.
So I call her sister every New Year's. Happy New Year's. What's up? First thing out of sister's mouth was, "What's up is you need to check on your daughter." I didn't even know she had a girl. Matter of fact, when the baby was born, another man was in the hospital room with her when the baby was born.
where was you?
Oh yes, ma'am. I was in.
At
I
least
was
if
in,
you had-
I was
if
back.
you
I,
However, despite this, Mr. Matlock is now paying child support for this child. He then says the other man Ms. Monroe was sleeping with texted him on Facebook and told him that there was another dude who could also be the father. But how did he even start paying child support for a child he says isn't his?
So
no,
he could
no,
get
no.
it.
We
Yes,
wanted to get a
yes,
DNA test
shut
done
up.
because
No,
she didn't want to
that's
get
not
the
what
DNA
happened.
test done. It's
You
been
wanted to take me on,
it's
Lori.
been 3 or 4 years, and she didn't never want to know who the father of this child was. So let's get it done. Put me
I
on
tried
child
to call
support.
you from the
They
hospital.
Sent me. They
I tried to
sent
call
me-
you from the hospital.
You ain't do a good job. Filed
Ain't
paternity
called
test.
us.
Okay.
Yes, I did.
That's insane. Anyway, father is.
Mr. Matlock, die.
I knew it. I knew it. Go find your baby daddy. Put somebody else on child support. I want my money back. I want my money back. I told you I wasn't the father of that child. Knew it from the beginning. Trifling. Knew it. I knew it.
Jerome, would you go check on Ms. Monroe?
Ms. Hubbard is more than certain that Mr. Watson is the father of her 2-year-old daughter. Mr. Watson says Ms. Hubbard is a habitual liar and that she lied about her pregnancy. He says that's how he knows that he's certainly not the child's father. But Ms. Hubbard says that she never lied to him about anything.
I told Mr. Watson when I got pregnant, when I conceived, when the last time we did have sex with each other, and that was in February of 2012, and I had her in November of 2012, and he knew about her the whole pregnancy. He didn't come around until like when I was in the hospital with her. That's the only time he was
So
around.
if you say he knew about her, has he been helping you?
No, ma'am.
You're suing for $2,150 because you say he has not contributed.
Wow, that's a lot of work to do. And this work sometimes gets Ms. Hubbard so angry and tired that she lashes out, like that one time that she maced Mr. Watson.
When I was pregnant with her, he came around and he was supposed to give me some money because I had took him somewhere. He didn't want to give me some gas money to take me in. When I took him somewhere for her, that was the last time that I seen him while I was pregnant with her. And I maced him.
You maced him?
Yes, ma'am.
Why?
I was mad. I was pregnant. I'm out here by myself struggling. Didn't have any gas in my car. And he asked me to take him somewhere. I took him.
Ms. Hubbard says that Mr. Watson has been the absolute worst to her. She says he has 2 other kids that he takes care of, but he never does anything for her kid. And that's why she decided to sell his clothes.
Never have.
She sold my
Probably never
clothes.
will. Yeah, I did sell your clothes. Your baby that's up there right now. You left an outfit. I sold it to somebody on the corner for $100.
That ain't my baby.
Okay.
Hold on. Let me understand this. You say that Mr. Watson hasn't done anything for Amiria. Mr. Watson, is that true? Have you done anything for this child?
No, ma'am, I haven't done anything for this child.
You admit you've done nothing.
Mr. Watson says he knows that he isn't the father because Ms. Hubbard lied about the dates she was pregnant just to entrap him.
I got a reason why the calendar I made.
Let me see
Yes,
this.
ma'am.
Jerome, would
There
you
you
hand
go,
that
sir.
to me? What
She
does
lied.
this calendar outline?
That ain't my baby.
Okay, I don't know if a calendar can prove that,
Right.
but the dear sir, on this calendar, you say she told you she was 3 months pregnant
Right.
in August.
Right.
And then you say in October, she told you she was 3 months pregnant again?
But don't judge Ms. Hubbard yet. She has a perfectly good and perfectly rational reason for these strange dates.
But you would have been about ready to have the baby.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's lying. I told him when I knew for sure that I was pregnant in March, that's when I told him that I was pregnant.
Did she say she was pregnant in March?
I showed
She
him.
told me August. I got a call from her. I was staying with my girl.
No.
I got a call from her.
You was
She
staying with
told
my
me-
mama. You ain't never stayed with no girl.
She told me
You stayed
that
with
she
your mama.
was pregnant. She was 3 months pregnant.
Mr. Watson says he believes that's someone else's ultrasound and that Ms. Hubbard just wanted to play him for a fool. Anyway, the bottom line is that Mr. Watson thinks Ms. Hubbard has always been lying about the pregnancy. And what's the motive for that, you might ask? Well, this will blow your mind.
And her motive to lie is what?
Because she wanted to have a baby by me.
Who are you?
She told me
You
that.
don't have no
She
money.
told
You're not
me
even taking care
She
of her
told
as
me
it is.
that.
He told me he wanted me to be his baby mama. He really liked me. That's how it started.
Is
He
that
wanted
what
me.
they say now when you really like somebody?
Yeah, that's what he
That's
said.
how she do it.
That's
how
what he said.
Women.
Was this
I
an
guess-
exclusive relationship? Did you all say we're committed, we're boyfriend and
No.
girlfriend?
Yeah, we was together.
Mr. Watson now says he has evidence that Ms. Hubbard was sleeping with other men while they were together. And that evidence is a diary. Seriously. He's going to tender Ms. Hubbard's diary in court. That's crazy.
She too old to have a diary.
Now, go ahead.
Okay,
They
so
let you know I
So
was-
you had this is a diary that you found?
I was in her room one day. You know, she was in the shower.
And
the
when you-
diary was on her dresser. So I was like, I ain't want to look at it because, you know, it's a diary. Might hurt my feelings. So Temptation told me to go and look at it. I went on and look at it. First page, I see she was talking about her first love. And I flipped to another page. It had a condom pack on it.
Okay, that's nasty, Ms. Hubbard. Why is she keeping the condoms of the people she slept with? But Ms. Hubbard says that the diary was from when she was 15 and she was having protected intercourse with other men. But now protected intercourse is out of fashion and everyone's just getting their paternity slots whenever they can. And oh, she also did a rating of the intercourse she had in her diary.
You
And
taped
I
the
was
condom
young.
wrappers in the diary?
I was young doing
Who
stupid
does
stuff. So,
And then you did a rating?
no, I didn't do no rating. No.
She did it right.
It
No,
says
Stop
that it says this guy got a yes with an
No.
exclamation.
she a freak.
He's adding stuff. He adding stuff. Well, you know, he ain't in there. He ain't getting no yes because it wasn't even worth it.
That's insane. Anyway, it's time to get the DNA test results and check who the father of this child is. Let's see what the DNA test has to say.
Mr. Watson, you are Amiria's father.
Deadbeat.
I'm sorry. I promise I am. I just always had doubt, man, because you've been lying
I'm
on them
straight.
dates.
I'm straight.
You've been lying on them dates. And I'm willing to
Straight.
take care of her. Along with my other 2 kids. I promise
I'm
you, Sadie.
straight.
I promise.
I've
You
been
just
doing this
lied.
by myself.
Girl, you better get some help from your child's father. Stop acting like that.
Mrs. Johnson have been married for 5 years. Ms. Davis here is claiming to have had an intimate relationship with Mr. Johnson. Naturally, she came with proof, Christian and Christiana. They are 13-month-old twins that she claims belongs to Mr. Johnson. Oh, that's not all. Mr. Johnson's mother is also present. Apparently, she got everyone to be at the paternity court.
Contacted the court hoping to bring closure to this ongoing DNA drama. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Johnson, explain to me, why are you so desperate for these results?
I just want to approve it so we can move on with our life. I want Ms. Davis out of our lives for good.
Would you look at that? A baby, or in this case, babies, out of wedlock tend to cause problems in marriages. Who would have thought? Mr. Johnson tells the court that he simply wants closure from all of this and needs to know if the babies are truly his.
So you admit you're a married man and you're torn between 2 women now.
basically. But now, I'm not gonna say now because me and Miss Davis don't have any more dealings.
But she's still wreaking havoc on your relationship.
I'm not gonna necessarily say that, but
What are you gonna say?
I'm gonna say, being that I don't know for sure if the kids are mine.
What a guy. With Mr. Johnson sounding like he does not know what he wants, it brings up the question of how these two met in the first place. Considering that he's been married for 5 years now and the twins are 13 months old, what exactly happened?
Somebody introduced me to him.
Okay.
So we was together for a little while, you know what I'm saying?
Did you know he was in a relationship with Miss Johnson?
No, not really until like a couple years, probably like a year or so. I seen the little married pictures on Facebook or whatever. So I was like, so when this come about, you know?
Did you confront him about, are you married?
No, I ain't confronting him, but you know, I asked him about it because it ain't my concern because you ain't my man, you know?
Again, what a guy indeed. He was seeing another woman while he was with his wife of 4 years. Imagine hearing news of your husband promising to serve you with papers because he's caught up with another woman. I'd bet Mrs. Johnson isn't the happiest woman right now. That's not all, mind you. Listen to this.
It's another lady involved too. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, since she's not in court, we'll just leave that one alone.
Yeah.
We got enough to deal with in here.
Yeah.
Mr. Johnson.
Looks like Mr. Johnson got busy. It looks like he got really busy. Now it gets wilder. He didn't just keep relationships with 3 different women. This also happened.
So you both were pregnant at the same time?
We were pregnant at the same time. Yeah. All us. It's the other women too. All us. Yes.
Our babies might be
like
7
back
weeks
to
apart.
back.
Now there's absolutely no doubt about it. He really was involved with all these women at the same time. Imagine 3 women getting pregnant for 1 man at the same time, a married man too. You don't have to imagine it, really. It's happening right now. With this work rate, it looks like everything he's lacking in height, he's got somewhere else.
Man, that's what I'm talking about. Let's say something.
Looking at this beautiful happenstance, it's easy to conclude that Mrs. Johnson wants nothing to do with her husband.
She want to be the wife. She will never be the wife. I'm not going anywhere.
Well, hold on. Take me back.
No, I'm not leaving you from nobody. She wanted to play the wife role. She even asked my mother-in-law, can you go to her house and get BJ clothes? Never was going to happen. The day that another woman come to my house for my husband clothes, that would be the day.
Just how wrong is that conclusion? Mrs. Johnson wants everything to do with her husband, it would seem. What a woman. Before the results are out, we get a little taste of proof of paternity from Mr. Johnson's mother. When Ms. Davis got pregnant, she didn't tell anyone about it apart from his mother. As it would turn out, they are quite fond of one another for some reason.
That the twins might be my grands, so I asked Ms. Davis, were they my grands, and she said no, ma'am. I think after she had them, I asked her again, and I said, well, bring them back so I can see them. And she brought them to my house. I think they were maybe 4 or 5 months, and I looked at them, and I said, well, this one looks like his son. And I said, so you sure that's something that you don't need to tell me?
Now, this is where we get an epic shock. Here is what Ms. Davis said in court.
You admit that initially you told Mr. Johnson and his mother these are not his children.
Yeah.
And so you now believe the twins are his children.
Well, one of them, because they fraternal, they was in different sex.
Okay, so they're fraternal twins,
yes.
And you believe
the
one
girl twin, because my ex, I had an ex.
Turns out that one of the babies is possibly his. Just one. What are the odds, really?
Girl twin is Mr. Johnson's biological daughter.
Yes.
Why do you believe that?
Because like I was saying, like all the girls that he got, they all favor. Like got face features, hair, everything.
Your little girl favors his other children?
Yes, ma'am.
So you basically submitted these pictures to the court. This is Ms. Johnson's daughter, and this is your daughter.
If this went down like this, what exactly happened? If one baby belongs to Mr. Johnson, who is the biological father of the second baby?
Who do you believe fathered your boy twin?
My ex.
Your ex?
My ex, yes, Your Honor.
So does that mean you had sex with both gentlemen?
I probably had sex with him that night. I probably laid on a couple days, probably had sex with that.
Oh.
Well, that explains it then. After a lot of bickering, the results are announced.
When it comes to 1-year-old Christian Davis, it has been determined by this court. Mr. Johnson, you are not the father. I will say this, Ms. Davis, you said Christiana is the one you believed was his.
Yes, Your Honor.
So that result didn't surprise you?
Not at all.
Well, oh boy, at least they saw that one coming. Now for the second one.
Mr. Johnson, you are not the father.
I'm fine. I know now.
So you know?
Yes, ma'am.
And you say the father of both twins, then it's your ex.
What a dramatic turn of events. Nobody saw that coming, not even Mr. Johnson. Well, that's 2 babies down out of the 4 that were conceived around the same period.
Close, with Senator because I knew her. But I'm glad that this issue has been resolved. That way it won't be any more drama between her and my daughter-in-law, because now she has the answers that she needed and everybody can just move on.
And now the truth is, it's up to your son. It's up to you, Mr. Johnson, to stop the behavior that causes this.
Up next is another dad mystery. Tanova Rawlings is the 19-year-old mother of Nathaniel. Kevin Kidd, potential father of the day, and his mother insists that Tanova is manipulative, a user, and has caused emotional havoc on their family.
You say Ms. Rawlings is a manipulative user who convinced you that you were the father of her son, Nathaniel, then changed her mind when someone better came along. You and your mother say Ms. Rawlings' mind games have wreaked emotional havoc on your family, and you are 100% positive you are her son's.
What an interesting way to describe a woman who is the potential mother of your child. Tanova's argument remains that Kevin Kidd fully knows he is not the father of Nathaniel, as he told her sometime in the past that he is incapable of having children. She added that both mother and son are desperate, hence why they are eager to claim the child. This is what his mother had to say about that.
Pregnant. Mr. Kidd told me himself that he has some type of rare form blood disease and that me and his child would die if I was pregnant by him.
Oh, he had a rare blood disease.
No.
And if he got you pregnant, the baby would not be able to be carried full term?
Your Honor, it's not a rare blood disease. I am AORH negative, and he is ARH negative.
Oh boy. Now, when asked to explain the nature of their relationship, here is what ensued.
We met through a mutual friend, and I didn't know anything about Mr. Kidd starting off. My mutual friend ended up leaving, and the situation that I was in, I didn't have anywhere to go. And that's how me and Mr. Kidd ended up having relations, because I was staying with him. But as, you know, everything progressed and everything started off,
We've never been in a relationship.
So it wasn't just a sexual relationship?
No, ma'am.
What an interesting encounter between the two. There's more to their relationship as well. Tanova Rawling had more to explain to the court.
I did my own thing and was dealing with him and another gentleman also around the time that I conceived my child. So
what was your relationship with this man like?
We were in a serious relationship, and I was actually at some point, once I left from being around Mr. Kidd, that I was actually staying with him.
So how often were you with Mr. Kidd, and how often were you with the other guy?
Turns out there were other parties involved from both sides. What a twist. With all this information, what convinced the Kidds, mother and son, that this boy, Nathaniel, truly is Kevin Kidd's biological son?
I got a phone call from my daughter, and she said, "Mom, you need to look at this picture." Sent me a picture of the baby. I was like, who got my son's baby pictures? She said, "That's not your son." I said, "Yes, that is. I gave birth to him. I know who he is." She said, "That's his son."
There was a semblance between the two. Of course, she'd be convinced that her son is the biological father. This semblance was discovered by Mr. Kidd's mother. As expected, that is not all that happened.
Contacted his friend who gave me Miss Rawlings' number. I called her and asked, we talked for a couple weeks, and I asked if I could see the baby, and she said yes. We were at a park. He was in a car or a stroller, and I said hey to her. I said, "But you know what I'm here for," and I went straight to the baby. Picked him up, had said, "Hey, Sugarfoot," and he smiled, and we played. And
as she's asked to show the pictures to the court, Mr. Kidd's mother has her own little presentation as she arranges the pictures side by side for the world to see.
One on the left, and that's Nathaniel on the right. And you really believe, as you look at those pictures, that's your grandson?
Yeah.
And as we take a look at the second picture, it's Mr. Kidd as a teen, and Nathaniel.
Oh, he has my lips.
And you think they look exactly alike, minus your lips, those are your lips?
He's got my lips.
Okay, so...
What a beautiful outburst from an emotional grandmother. However, as the case goes on, Tanova is needed to answer some important questions.
Begin to let Ms. Jenkins have visitation with the baby.
Me being me as a mother, and I wasn't able to grow up with my father. If Mr. Kidd can't see the moments that he's missing, at least his mom will be able to have them, and his family has some stories to tell.
Yes.
Just in case.
And I completely understand that.
She begins to encounter some problems along the way. The judge kept asking her questions with a bit of input from the kids' table.
You say you know Mr. Kidd is not your child's biological father.
Yes, ma'am.
It's a manipulation tactic. That's
Yeah, it was, as long as you were giving her what she wanted and needed at the time, it was okay. I've never one time been told I wasn't the grandmother. She did not ever say that she doubted full-heartedly that Kevin was the father. She said it's a possibility between this one guy and my son.
Well, now what's going on? 1 minute, she says Mr. Kidd would never end up being the biological father. The next minute, she's assuring Mr. Kidd's mother that the baby is her grandchild. It's beginning to look like a lot of emotional blackmail. Let's come back to the tea about the other man in Tanova's life. As it would turn out, they're still in touch, and he's also interested in being a part of Nathaniel's life.
Sure, the other guy is your child's father because he looks like me. And going through pictures, Dad, even his brothers said, yeah, he has our nose. He looks like us.
So the other guy thinks
of his daughter.
the other guy thinks Nathaniel looks like him too.
Yes, and he favors his daughter.
And where is the other guy now?
What a turn of events. Now that Nathaniel is beginning to look like everyone Tanova has been with, what then? Though the other guy is currently in another state, he was at the hospital with Tanova just after she gave birth.
You wrote, I, Taneva Rawlings, the parent of Nathaniel Rawlings, I give Tammy Jenkins temporary physical custody of...
What is this new plot twist? After denying fervently that the baby isn't Kevin's, she gave his mom custody of him. She kept letting her see him. To what end, really? Here was her explanation for her actions.
Because of the fact that once I told my stepmom, I came to the decision where when I lost the job because I didn't have a babysitter, and I wanted that job, so in order for me to be able to get on my feet, because I was also planning to go back to school and get everything situated, so I couldn't set up somebody to watch my...
After an intense amount of squabbling and argument between both parties, the results are out.
Mr. Kidd, you are the father. You are the father.
Thank you.
And at least even the fact that he said that he would have stood up, that was what I was still going for, period. The fact that that is his son.
What an emotional moment for everyone. Mr. Kidd got the announcement of his first child after believing he was unable to get any children for years. Tanova had something extra to add.
I am happy because me and him, we don't have a hate type relationship, and that I knew he's a good man at heart and he has a good heart. And knowing that me and him could be on some type of page, that my child will have his biological mother and father.
Don't hug her.
And he has a family, something that I really didn't have.
You do now. You got a big family now. Come here, my baby.
If you think courtroom drama is dramatic, you're in for a surprise. Normally, it takes 2 parents to make a baby, but in this case, we've got at least 3 potential parents. Mrs. Shaw, her daughter Kiona, and LeBron Matthews are all here for different reasons. Mrs. Shaw hopes Matthews isn't Kiona's father, while Kiona hopes he is. As for Matthews, well, he's just here with a new suit.
After the way that things went
I see why you wore your little suit too now, Mr. Matthews. See? I said he's real ready for court, ain't he?
In court cases, we often hear about baby mamas and exes facing off, but this situation is on a whole other level. The backstory behind Kiona's parents is even wilder than you can imagine, believe me.
Looked at him, I turned around and I looked at his wife. And
did somebody say wife?
Yeah, they both were married.
So you, and you had a husband?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, so you came to court with your wife?
Correct.
No wonder you said you never had sex with this woman. Okay. And you had a husband?
Yes.
All right. So you two were basically cheating on your spouses with...
What a crazy twist. It's like something straight out of a TV drama. And just when you think it couldn't get any more dramatic, Matthews goes on to explain the whole relationship in even more detail.
Having fun. We both was young, you know, and when she told me she was pregnant, I was too busy trying to enjoy myself because I wasn't trying to be with no one woman. I already had a wife.
So the point is, when you stood in the courtroom with your wife and you said you never slept with Miss Shaw and you knew you weren't telling the truth.
With so many men coming in and out of her life while growing up, Kiona always felt like she never truly had a father figure. This constant absence left her feeling sad and longing for paternal love throughout her childhood. She described this feeling perfectly here.
Comfortable, honestly. I felt like I was the stepchild. Like, you know, the way that he was with his other kids, he wasn't like that with me. So I wanted him to feel the way he felt about his other kids about me.
I did, but I wasn't really there either.
When it came to the men in Keona's life as she grew up, her mother, Mrs. Shaw, didn't hold back. She kept them coming one after another.
He was not the only man that I had slept with. Other
Were
men
you
besides
honest
my husband.
about that to Miss Thompson, your daughter?
Yes.
It appears that these two have a long history together. Matthews goes into detail about everything that occurred during their relationship and how he responded when he found out she was pregnant with his child. It's not surprising they ended up having a baby together, considering their past.
Because when she first told me that I was the dad, I didn't want to believe it because I was doing my own things. But every time I turned around, I was bringing you fish sandwiches when you was pregnant. Every time you turned around, you was like, babe, I'm hungry. And at the time, you had a husband, and here it is. Wait a minute, okay, but you had threw him out.
Yeah.
But then when I came over there, you had me rubbing your stomach and all that good stuff.
I had rubbing my
and
stomach.
here,
Stop
yes,
that.
you did. Yes, you did.
If you find that intriguing, you're about to be shocked. How exactly did a married man and a married woman end up having a child together with the help of an external party? It's quite a story.
You remember that.
Did
But
that.
wait, I want to understand this. So you're pregnant, but your husband's somewhere else.
Right.
Right.
Because
And
see,
your,
that's how that came
your
about.
lover's coming over to feed you some fish sandwiches.
Because my husband was still in and out at the same time when I got pregnant. But that 6 months, I had threw him out of the house. So he had him another girl. I went and got me 4 other guys.
Oh.
And was doing my thing. And that's what I did. It was a choice, but I was young.
Wow, what a turn of events, really. Not only was she cheating on her husband with one man, but with 5 different men. After Keona was born, it seems that Matthews changed for the worse. There were several instances where he didn't meet even the basic expectations. Even though the paternity of the little girl was uncertain, there were many things he could have done better.
The last time you saw Mr. Matthews?
I was a junior in high school, so it's been about 14 years.
Oh my goodness. So, Mr. Matthews, your testimony is true. You've been a pretty bad dad.
Yeah, I was a terrible father.
And that's why you're here, to right your wrongs.
Right, that's correct. I enjoyed my life, you know?
Amen.
You're right. I mean, let's be honest.
Yes.
The courtroom drama in this case is off the charts, but let's shift the focus from Matthews to Mrs. Shaw's late husband, Mr. Brooks. With just one look at Keona when she was born, he declared that she wasn't his.
My grandmother, went over there and seen the baby because where Miss Shaw was living at the time, rumors fly around. First, my grandmother told my mother, then my mother told me, and I was like, nah, I'm not gonna sit back there and say yes.
What did they say?
She said, well, the baby look like you. I said, no, it don't. I'm not gonna sit back because I didn't want my wife to know. Well, my mother told my wife.
Oh!
What a chaotic situation it must have been. The DNA test results are finally in. Mrs. Shaw seems strongly against the idea of Matthews being the father of her daughter and doesn't hide it. Matthews just wants to make amends and be a good father after all this time, showing genuine interest in being a part of Keona's life. The results of the DNA test caused quite a shock.
Mr. Brooks is not her father. What are you feeling in this moment, Miss Shaw?
That's what she needed. Be the father. He not gonna be there.
Mr. Matthews, you are not the father. I'm so sorry.
Wow.
Neither gentleman is her biological father.
Next up is another case of manipulation and playing an emotional DNA game. These are the exact words used by Mr. Johnson to describe Ms. Carr on behalf of the daughter they may share. Her, on the other hand, says that he has been avoiding a DNA test and his responsibilities as a father.
Mrs. Carr, you say that Mr. Johnson has been dodging a DNA test and his responsibilities as a father since the day you told him you were pregnant. You claim the only reason he is denying her is because you are married and will no longer sleep with him. Is that correct?
Yes.
Oh, what an interesting utterance. Also, she's married now. Mr. Johnson says that this is the way she's always been, adding that he's tired of the lies and roller coaster between them. With one day she acknowledges him being the father of her daughter, and the next she doesn't.
Your
Honor, that's incorrect. When her daughter was first born, her father came to my house, sat me down on my couch, and said that they...
Oh boy, what a confrontation. This begs the question of what sort of an interesting relationship exists between these two. How did they meet as well?
Ms. Carr, you say this is not true, what he's saying.
Your Honor, Mr. Johnson has always acknowledged my daughter, and he has always attempted to be in her
Your
life.
Honor, that's incorrect. When her daughter was first born, her father came to my house, sat me down on my couch, and said that they had a DNA test with another man.
Now, there are so many questions to be asked. Apparently, they were together more than once, and each person was ever so young too.
Your Honor, nobody else in the family knew about him being a possibility until I had her on the delivery table. And
So
Mr.
they
Johnson
thought
was aware
the
of my boyfriend.
Was the father
The
of
whole
the
time.
child.
After the baby was born, and Mr. Johnson was told very strongly that he was not his father, he decided to move on with life like nothing happened. However, after about 7 years, when he comes back to his family house, he's encountered numerous times with very shocking information.
With a family member that they are close to. And Miss May is constantly interacting with these family members. So she comes to the family member's house and like, your daughter is coming. Like, this is not my daughter.
That is not true.
Can I finish my story? I said I need a DNA test. And all the family like, no, she's yours. You don't need to get a DNA test.
That must have been something. Accepting his potential daughter as his own without any proof is quite an interesting plot twist. Afterwards, we get to meet his daughter, Amber May, as she's escorted into the courtroom where she gets to answer important questions.
You have of Mr. Johnson being in your life.
Memories with Mr. Johnson. My 10th birthday, he threw me a party at the water park. I remember that. And then there was the time from summer after 5th grade. I remember that day because he made me stay in the house while all my cousins playing outside.
There was a lot of boys out there. She was the only girl.
I was not.
What a guy. It's obvious as day that this is such a difficult moment for Mr. Johnson as Amber relives moments from her childhood. However, she still has more to say.
And so, when's the last time you saw Mr. Johnson?
Last time I saw Mr. Johnson was the 5th grade summer. It was probably around 2010.
So you have not seen her or laid eyes on her?
No, ma'am, and she's extremely beautiful.
Yes. Ms. May, what was your understanding as it related to your paternity? What were you told?
Would you look at that? He hasn't seen her for years on end. What an emotional moment for him, really. Then, did she not ask about him? How did he leave and she did not ask any questions? Amber continues.
I was told by family members that he was my father, and they would show me pictures of him, and they was like, oh, you look just like him. And so I was like, okay, that's my dad. And growing up, my mother had told me that he was a part of my life, and so I don't have that many memories with him. Like, there was this time I called him on the phone, I asked for a birthday present. He gave me a false tracking number.
After so long, we finally get the results.
Mr. Johnson, you are her father. How do you feel?
Parents.
How do you feel? Absolutely, honey.
Okay. It's okay.
We came here for
Amber has been completely scarred by this, and she has no problem with letting her father know.
a beautiful young woman who deserves to know who her biological father is. And now we have that answer.
Yes, we do.
And I am so thankful that you have Mr. Carr in your life, and I'm so happy that your mother has been there for you. Every girl needs her daddy, and you've been blessed with 2. You have 2 men who love you very much.
In the last case, we meet Mr. Walker against DeVost and little Kai Manny. Mr. Walker claims that she allowed him fully into Kai Manny's life for about a year before completely cutting him off, saying that he is not the biological father of Kai Manny. She led him to sign the birth certificate, provide for Kai Manny and everything before cutting him off. DeVost explains the nature of their relationship.
I was like over his house every day. It was like a getaway. We wasn't in a relationship, but it was a situation like we was together.
So it wasn't a committed relationship, but you spent a lot of time together.
Yeah.
And you were intimate.
Yes.
Did
Your
you
Honor.
use protection?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Walker adds that he was there throughout the entire process from pregnancy up until 6 months ago.
Then I got it confirmed by the doctor. He was the person I was with at the time.
Okay, well, it doesn't matter who you're with when the doctor tells you you're pregnant. It matters who you're with when the child is conceived.
Right.
Who were you with then?
I was with him and someone else.
Okay, so that's why we're here. So you admit you were also intimate with another person during the window of conception.
It gets interesting. It's no surprise she's cut him off from Kai Manny's life. We get to learn more about Mr. Walker's past.
When I find out that she's pregnant, I really just start to prepare myself mentally, and I also was just looking for work. I had 2 jobs at the time. I was really trying to just prepare myself for everything.
So
I know what it means to have a child. I didn't really have a dad growing up, and I grew up in the system, and I don't know. I like babies.
So this was your first child?
Yes, Your Honor.
This is so wholesome. If this man seems like such a great dad, why then is Devin seemingly standing in the way of something so glorious?
I was scared. Being a first-time mother, I went through the system too, and it's just, I just never wanted to tell him that it wasn't his because I knew the situation he'd been through. And
well, you really are telling the truth when you say you didn't want to do this alone. So you just chose the man that was closest to you and was ready to step up, so you would have someone to go through this process with.
Now, how Mr. Walker found out about all this was via text. They had an argument, and she kicked him out of the house. This was how the conversation went.
You say you kicked me out with damn near no place to go. You wasn't thinking about our son or anything. Ms. DeVos, you write back, he's not your son. Then you respond, Mr. Walker, so as long as I'm on the birth certificate, I'm not going anywhere. You ruined my whole life. And Ms. DeVos, you respond, you're not his father. You ruined your own life.
Well, oh boy, those texts sure do feel like a snowstorm on Christmas morning. Ms. Devon was not done, though. Here's what she had to say.
It's the biological father.
Yes, I did. He had the option if he wanted to be there or not. I didn't beg or ask him to be there. He had the option.
Ms. DeVos, now I'll let you stand here thus far and state your testimony. Now you sitting up here acting like Satan's sidekick in here talking about you ruined your own life. I didn't have nothing about it. Nobody told you to stay. What's going on?
Judge Lake was not having any of it. She called her out properly and said what everyone was thinking.
Back too far from center. Now you can come in here and tell the truth and say you made a mistake and you lied and you did something for your benefit and you were scared and you didn't want to be by yourself. But what you're not going to do is sit up here and convince me that, oh, he could have left. Why? He could have left a baby that he thought was his biological child. He could have repeated a cycle that has affected him and you, and that's why both of you all connected on that level.
Afterwards, the results are out and you did not see this coming.
Mr. Walker, you are not the father.
I'm sorry. I'm sincerely sorry.
I'm sorry, Mr. Walker.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I'm sorry I couldn't give you the news you wanted, Mr. Walker. You have been a stand-up guy.
Let's set the stage. We have Ms. Lee stepping into the courtroom, haunted by a paternity question that has been eating away at her for years. Is the man who raised her truly her biological father? Or is it another man who is now deceased? The suspense is killing me.
Is the man who raised you your biological father? Now, Ms. France, you're here along with your brother who's waiting outside of our courtroom. You say father claimed biological father of a child.
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh boy, the emotions are already running high. Ms. Lee is pouring her heart out, talking about her deep love for the man she believed to be her father. But now, she's faced with the possibility of a different truth. It's heart-wrenching to see her in this state.
If indeed you've now found the correct Sonia, you believe the plaintiff, Ms. Lee. Now, Ms. Lee, how have you handled...
From the beginning of this has been real to me.
And here come the defendants, Ms. France and her brother, who claim their father made a shocking deathbed confession. He revealed that he was the biological father of a child named Sonia. And guess what? They believe Ms. Lee is that long-lost sister. Talk about a bombshell.
My dad so much and he loved me. But at the same time, I know that the truth needs to be known, because if I do have siblings, brothers and sisters out there, I would want to connect with them and bond with them. You know, that's something I've always said.
So, Ms. France, please tell me about this search, how it came about. You say this was your father's dying wish?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. France wasted no time in telling us how she grew up hearing about a twin sister in Michigan. Can you believe it? They went to the same schools, knew the same people, but never even met. And get this, their kids are already best friends. The universe works in mysterious ways, my friends.
We never even met. Kids are even best friends and never even knew they were cousins. Yes. I even know her grandmother. And her grandmother and my grandmother are best friends. And I still never met Mrs. Lee until I was 42 years old.
How long have you known or had this knowledge that she was out there somewhere?
Probably since I was about 5 or 6.
Really?
Yes.
Ms. Lee, on the other hand, has had her fair share of doubts. She dismisses the rumors of having a twin sister as mere gossip, but deep down, she couldn't ignore the striking similarities people pointed out. It's like an award-winning soap opera unfolding right before our eyes.
Just like,
really?
It's been rumors. You know, I had no reason to think those facts. So when they would say, y'all got the same eyes, y'all even got the same nose and forehead, I'd be like, yeah, well, people look alike. You know, everybody has a twin.
Wow. So, Ms. France,
Ms. Davis, the super sleuth sister, took matters into her own hands and started searching on Facebook. But guess what? She couldn't find Sonia Miller anywhere. It seemed like a dead end until fate intervened and a picture popped up. A picture that would change everything.
My sister, Mrs. Davis, is the one that found her.
So, Ms. Davis, please stand and step up to the podium. So, Ms. Davis, when you got this news, your father said, find her.
Yes.
How did you go about doing it?
Well, I started on Facebook, and I couldn't find her on Facebook nowhere. So
and you were looking up the name?
Gave up the search, looking for Sonya Miller.
Sonya Miller.
Hold on tight, folks. Brace yourselves for a jaw-dropping twist. They were told that Sonya had passed away, even that she had AIDS, but their father didn't buy it. He wanted them to find her, and when they found her, they discovered she was very much alive. Can you believe it? The lies, the secrets, the drama.
It's her friend, and when I looked, I said, she's right there. She's not gone. My sister's not dead.
Oh my goodness.
So I started Facebooking. Just Facebooking and calling my sister, said, Sonya's not dead. This is the Sonya right here.
So what is this you're holding now, Ms. France?
This is the obituary that when we made the obituary out that has her listed as deceased.
Jerome, can you please?
To my younger Diane.
Oh my, time for the long-awaited reunion between Ms. Lee and her newfound siblings. The moment is so raw and emotional, you can feel the love and relief filling the room. This is what family is all about.
I didn't read her picture, I didn't recognize her name, and it was saying they were looking for their sister. And so at this point, I'm like, it can't be me. So I kept ignoring it. Maybe after 3 or 4 messages, I finally responded to where Miss Davis, I responded to Miss Davis, and where we exchanged numbers, and I called her, and she just started spilling the story out, and it was like, whoa, wait a minute, slow down.
Wait a minute, hold the phone. We have a surprise guest, Mr. Miller himself. The man who is believed to be Ms. Lee's biological father has entered the building. The tension is palpable, and we can't wait to see how this unfolds.
Miss Fran said our kids were our best friends, already claiming each other as cousins without knowing nothing, without even thinking the possibility of others as cousins. I grew up in a small city, and then to be this close to my did hurt me. But if I had something, so I kind of had some resentment about that. You know, they knew about me. I didn't know about them. My mom knew. My dad knew. But nobody told me.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's the moment of truth. The DNA results are in, and we're about to find out if Ms. Lee is indeed the biological sister of Ms. France and Mr. Miller. Will the siblings' hopes and dreams be confirmed, or will their world come crashing down? The anticipation is killing me. Will it be a match made in DNA heaven, or will it be another twist in this roller coaster of emotions?
Ms. Lee, they are indeed your biological brother and sister.
All right.
I told you.
That's a lot of love came pouring in, didn't it?
In this case, we've got Lisa, Jasmine, and Jamie, 3 sisters who are tired of being lied to by their mother, Ms. Liddell. They claim she wasn't a good mother, and her promiscuous behavior has them questioning their paternity. Hold on tight, because this is going to be a bumpy ride.
Ms. Williams, you are here today with your 2 sisters because you say you're tired of being lied to by your mother, Ms. Liddell. You all claim she wasn't a good mother and say her promiscuous behavior is the reason you need the results of a paternity test today.
The youngest of the 3 sisters is feeling like the outcast. She's been lied to her whole life, and she's ready to get to the bottom of it. But guess what? Their mom, Ms. Liddell, didn't even bother showing up for the paternity test they were supposed to have. Talk about a no-show.
You haven't been the best mother, but you say your daughters are being unfair. You claim they're still punishing you for the mistakes you've made in the past, and today you want it to end. Now, Ms. Lisa Williams, I'll start with you. Why is it so important?
Ms. Little, on the other hand, admits she hasn't been the best mother, but she thinks her daughters are being unfair. She claims they're still punishing her for the mistakes she made in the past. Oh boy, this is shaping up to be one messy family reunion.
Tell me about the paternity issues.
It was this man who was supposedly had been my father, and we were all wanting to know, like his family, him, my aunt that raised me and Jasmine.
The sisters drop a bombshell, revealing that they were told a man named James was their father. But doubt started creeping in, especially when Lisa saw him for the first time and didn't see any resemblance at all. Yikes, that's gotta hurt.
I know who my father was. I feel like at least if she was there to try to take the place of my father, having a mother at least, maybe it wouldn't have bothered me so much, you know? But I didn't have a mother or a father.
He treats me more like a daughter than he treats Lisa, but I feel that he treats Jamie more like a daughter than he treats me.
But hold up, folks. We've got Mr. Williams, the man who was believed to be their father, joining us via video conference. He drops a bomb of his own, saying he doesn't believe he's their biological father. Talk about a plot twist.
So, other than the whispers, other than all of that.
Because of the life she was leading. And Lisa, what information did you have?
Well, I had my doubts, like when I was extremely little young. Me and Jasmine went to go see her father because he was, you know, away.
He was away.
That was my first time ever seeing him. And that day when I saw him, I'm knowing, like, I don't see me.
The tension is rising, and the sisters are not holding back. They're pouring out their hearts, expressing their disappointment and anger towards their mother. It's like a volcano of emotions erupting in that courtroom.
Stated, I didn't care.
But wait, there's more! Ms. Liddell fires back, saying her daughters are manipulators and liars, just like her. Oh boy, the drama is reaching new heights, and things are getting heated, folks. The sisters are unleashing years of pent-up frustration, and Ms. Liddell is not holding back either. It's a battle of words, and the courtroom is the battlefield.
You believe you are these young girls' biological father. Do you believe that?
Deep in my heart, Your Honor, and I hate to say it, and it's hurting me to say it too, but no, I do not.
You don't act like it, so it shouldn't be hurting you. He said no. You don't act like it. You sure don't act like it.
What are your doubts? What are your doubts based upon?
don't believe he's your daddy.
I always had the doubt in my heart.
All right, everyone involved in this case needs a breather, folks. Emotions are running high, and we can feel the tension in the air. But we're not here for a therapy session. We're here for some paternity results. So let's get back to it.
Come on now. When a little girl don't got her daddy, do you know what goes on in your mind? Do you know how much stuff you get out here and do that you shouldn't be doing because you
never had that father to show you this is what love is. This is how a man's supposed to treat you. We never had that. Never.
Mr. Williams is here and he knows he's been absent. How has it affected you specifically when you say
he don't even have no kind of relationship with me?
The moment we've all been waiting for has arrived. The DNA results are in, and the first bombshell drops. Jasmine, the eldest sister, finds out that Mr. Williams is indeed her biological father. Cue the tears, folks.
So basically, you made the call as their mother because you didn't know who their father was.
Exactly. And I was
you
with
just
him at the
said,
time. Yes, ma'am.
let's take Mr. Williams' name across the board.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell all the girls that's their father. I'm not sure whether or not he's their father.
Right.
But at least they'll have the same last name and hopefully the same belief.
Your Honor.
But hold on tight, because things are about to take a turn. Lisa, the middle sister, receives the devastating news that Mr. Williams is not her biological father. The courtroom is filled with gasps and shocked expressions.
No, Your Honor, they talk so bad to me that I don't know how to get back at her, so I say what I know is going to hurt them.
Hold on, let's get some order. Let's get some order. Ms. Liddell, trust me, while I do understand, and I know what it means to get lost and you can't find your way, but what I see you doing today is you breaking these girls down like you were broken down. And it's not right.
The suspense is killing us. And we're not even in that courtroom. Jamie, the youngest sister, is about to receive her results. Will she follow Lisa of fate, or will she finally find her biological father? Let's find out.
Ms. Jasmine Williams, Mr. Williams, you are her father. When it comes to Ms. Lisa Williams, Mr. Williams, you are not her father. To Ms. Jamie Williams, Mr. Williams, you are not her father.
This next case revolves around Ms. Love and Ms. Willis, who are suing the defendant, Karen Williams, for defamation of character. They claim that Karen has been spreading rumors about their father having an affair with her, resulting in her daughter, Stephanie. The drama has been going on for a whopping 30 years. Can you believe it?
And this affair produced her daughter, Stephanie.
Yes, Your Honor.
Who you say is not your father's daughter.
Yes, Your Honor.
No.
Now, the court has ordered a DNA test, and the results will be revealed shortly. Ms. Karen Williams, you say you haven't defamed anyone's character.
Ms. Love and Ms. Willis are furious, claiming that Karen has been following them around town, accusing them of being sisters with Stephanie. Can you imagine the audacity? They're here to set the record straight and demand justice for their family name.
Now, the court has ordered a DNA test, and the results will be revealed shortly. Ms. Karen Williams, you say you haven't defamed anyone's character.
Yes, Your Honor.
Because you've told the truth about the affair, and the results of today's paternity test will clear your name.
Yes, Your Honor.
And identify your daughter's father. Ms. Love, after all these years, why do you finally bring the defendants to court today?
But hold on to your hats, folks, because Karen Williams is not backing down. She adamantly denies defaming anyone's character and insists that she's telling the truth about the affair. She even claims that today's paternity test will clear her name and reveal Stephanie's father. Talk about a cliffhanger.
This is a claim for defamation of character.
Yes, Your Honor.
How do you believe she's defamed your character?
From the time I was about 6 years old, this been going on with Miss Karen. She done followed us in stores, workplaces.
Jobs, everywhere.
Everywhere.
And what does she say when she follows you?
Accusing, oh, you do, oh, Miss Stephanie,
This
say
is
hi to
your
your
father,
sister.
this is your sister.
Say hi to your big sister.
The tension in the courtroom is thick as Judge Lake starts to dig deeper into this decades-long drama. Ms. Love and Ms. Willis are finally getting their day in court after all these years. Can you feel the anticipation building?
You laid eyes on them.
Yes.
So when you were involved with their father, did you know he was involved with their mother?
No.
You
no.
didn't?
I didn't. I didn't.
she did.
So-
She lied.
No, I didn't even know he was married at the time I was involved with him.
So you didn't know. So Ms. Williams, this is your daughter.
Yes.
Ms. Williams, how old are you?
I'm 34.
And Ms. Love, how old are you?
35.
And Ms. Willis, how old are you?
33.
The judge wants to know how Karen has allegedly defamed their character. Ms. Love reveals that Karen has been following them around, accusing them of being Stephanie's sisters. And get this, she even claims that Stephanie doesn't even look like them. Oh, the drama.
We're gonna be together forever because I'll always love you for you and only you.
My daddy don't even
Just
talk
be
like
mine forever.
My father has never talked like that to a woman.
Your Honor, he loved me and I loved him.
He just signed it, Love Baby, though.
Exactly.
His name is at the top.
Jerome, please show this to the plaintiffs and see if this
The name
looks
is at
like
the
their
top.
father's handwriting.
But Karen is not one to back down. She insists that she had no idea their father was involved with their mother when she was with him. She's sticking to her story, folks. Will she be able to convince the judge?
It's not his handwriting at all.
So, Miss Stephanie Williams, I want to talk to you. What do you remember from your childhood? Were you ever told who your father was? Did you believe all your life it was this man?
I was told by my father who my father was. He came to my house.
Yes.
I was about 7 or 8, and he explained to me who he was. He was my father. He gave me his phone number. I mean, reluctantly, my mother didn't want me to call.
Now, let's bring Stephanie into the mix. She's convinced that their father is her biological father, and she's got some emotional stories to share. She recalls a phone call she made to her alleged father, only to be cursed out by someone claiming to be their mother. Can you imagine the heartbreak?
They was direct deposit to the bank account. My mom did the balance of the banks and statements and all that. So when she noticed was money being taken out for child support, my dad went to find out what was going on. So when he found out it was child support for Miss Stephanie, he wanted to have a blood test done.
Stephanie is determined to prove her connection to their father, even revealing a heartfelt message he wrote in her yearbook. But the sisters are not buying it. They argue that the handwriting doesn't match their father's at all. The plot thickens.
I do not know anything of child support.
You never received the assistance from the state?
No.
And you never received the child support?
No.
I was cut off of assistance when my test was taken, my tournament test was taken.
What didn't you do?
When I went there, they couldn't verify that he had been there. They told me to just do what I need to do.
And just when you thought things couldn't get any crazier, the court calls in a witness, Mr. Andre Banks, the brother of Ms. Love and Ms. Willis. Will he shed some light on this family saga?
My daughter got scared. She threw up on me when they took the blood. So we had to catch the bus back home.
So your concern is because you went to the facility, the
Yes,
testing
ma'am.
facility,
Yes, Your Honor.
but you never laid eyes on him. He was not present.
Yes, Your Honor.
What do you think happened?
About 85, he came over in the summertime. Him and a family member.
Mr. Banks drops a bombshell, revealing that their father was quite the ladies' man and that there's a possibility he could be Stephanie's father. Oh boy, the drama just keeps on coming.
To go with me to knock on his door. Well, lo and behold, news come on. He was shot and killed before I even had a chance to get.
Your Honor, that was
any
4
other
years
answer.
ago.
I'm here to find out.
I
That's
wanna-
why it's so important.
But you wasn't at
I
his
wanna
funeral.
say
You wasn't there when he
something,
got killed.
On that behalf, Your Honor,
You
I
ain't been
felt
there
the
this whole
funeral
time.
was not a time for me to come and say
You should've
I'm
been
a
came
part.
around.
I'm not.
And now it's time for the moment we've all been waiting for. The tension is mounting as the judge prepares to reveal the results of the DNA test. Will Stephanie finally get the closure she's been seeking for all these years? Will the truth finally come out? Get ready, folks, because it's about to go down.
Miss Stephanie Williams, Mr. Andre Willis was not your father.
I told you. So your mama lied to you for 34 years. What you gonna say to her now?
First, get some control. And before Ms. Willis and Ms. Love, before you plan your celebration, if you take a look across the aisle.
Let's meet our players in this next case. We have Ms. Tucker, who spent her whole life believing one man was her father, only to find out that may not be the case. And then we have Mr. Hunter, who has been dodging paternity tests like a pro and is now faced with the possibility that he may indeed be the father. Buckle up, because this is going to be one wild ride.
Tucker, you believed another man was your dad until a bomb was dropped on you 10 years ago when your mother admitted that the defendant is your biological father. You opened your case to prove to Mr. Hunter that he is your dad. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Tucker opens the case by sharing her struggles and confusion. She desperately wants a DNA test to finally put all the doubts to rest. But Mr. Hunter, well, he's been avoiding those tests like it's his full-time job. Seriously, dude, it's time to face the music.
Mr. Hunter, you admit you have distanced yourself from the plaintiff because you have serious doubts you are her father. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Tucker, you admit you initially lied to your daughter, but claim you and Mr. Hunter have always known that he is her father.
And hold on to your seats, folks, because here comes the bombshell. Ms. Tucker's mom drops a truth bomb and admits that Mr. Hunter might actually be the biological father. Cue the gasps and shocked faces.
Yes, Your Honor.
Is there something you haven't told your daughter?
I told her that someone else was her father at the time in order to protect her. I felt like Mr. Hunter was not a good role model.
So you felt by saying someone else was her father, what she had a better chance of having a father in her life? What was your reasoning?
No, Your Honor, that's not the reason.
But wait, there's more. Ms. Tucker reveals that she grew up thinking another man was her father, and it wasn't until the 5th grade that she discovered the truth. Can you imagine the confusion and heartbreak she must have felt? This is like a daytime soap opera.
And his sister used to come and get me, and they treated me as their own. Every weekend, I would be with his family. I never met him. He never was around, but they still showed me a lot of love.
And so when did you find out that he may not be your biological father?
I was in the 5th grade, and his sister had came and got me one weekend like she always.
Fast forward a few years, and Ms. Tucker finds out that Mr. Hunter might be her real dad. But guess what? He denies it. Talk about a plot twist. Mr. Hunter claims that Ms. Tucker's mom told him he wasn't the father years ago. Oh, the tangled web we weave.
Why was he not around? And that's when he told me that my mom was not being honest with me, and he knew I wasn't his daughter.
Over the phone?
Mm-hmm.
And how old were you when this happened?
I was in the 5th grade.
Whoa. And so at that point, you were excited to get on the phone?
I was excited, but I got off on traumatized.
Of course.
Because that was the first I had ever heard that he wasn't my father.
Hold on tight, folks, because we're about to dive into some serious family drama. Ms. Tucker confronts her mom about the whole situation, and her aunt spills the beans, revealing that her mom has been keeping secrets all these years. The plot thickens.
I grew up with a great family, so I just took it as if it was his loss.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was. So, Mom, you hear your daughter
Yes, Your Honor.
in tears talk about that conversation in the 5th grade.
Yes, Your Honor. I felt like I was selfish, basically, but at the end of the day, it hurt her. So I'm here to clean what I did up.
Your Honor, may I say something? Even though my mom was wrong, I still feel as though Mr. Hunter.
The tension is rising and emotions are running high. Ms. Tucker demands answers, and her mom finally comes clean, admitting that Mr. Hunter might indeed be her biological father. Can you imagine the weight of that confession? It's like a bomb went off in the courtroom.
About Mr. Hunter.
I was in the 7th grade, and where we're from is very small. So I was at a store, and there's a woman who knows them both, and she told me, she said, "You look just like your dad." And so naturally I'm thinking she's talking about the other gentleman. So I go, "Oh, you know my dad?" And I said his name, and she goes, "That's not your dad."
Now, it's time for the moment of truth. The DNA results are in, and the court is about to reveal whether Mr. Hunter is the father or not. Get ready, folks, because this is the moment we've all been waiting for.
Mr. Hunter, you are not the father. I'm sorry, Adriana.
It's okay. I just wanted answers so that I don't have to keep interrupting his life or, keep going through this in my own life. So, yeah.
I'm very sorry. I was hoping to be able to give you the closure you deserve.
Yes.
But I do have to ask you, Ms. Tucker.
Boston says he has undeniable proof that he isn't the father of 10-month-old Tristan. Ms. Murphy, on the other hand, says that she's tired of Mr. Boston lying all the time and says the DNA test today will be proof that he is the father. So what's this undeniable evidence? And you better make it good, Mr. Boston.
Your Honor, you have to have sex to make a baby. And I don't believe in, I don't remember even doing it well.
Lies.
You don't remember having sex with Miss Murphy?
He's lying. He was at my house all the time, every day, every night in my bed.
Stop it.
It is your assertion to this court that you've never been in a sexual relationship with Ms. Murphy?
I mean, I'm not denying it like that, but I'm just saying.
Okay, so what are you
He's
saying?
lying. He's lying, Your Honor.
So there's the problem. The proof isn't rock solid because Mr. Boston did have intercourse with Ms. Murphy. He's just saying that he used protection. And while that's good, it isn't total evidence that he isn't the child's father. Because sometimes accidents happen and protections fail. Anyway, Mr. Boston insists that he never dated Ms. Murphy.
So obviously you all were not boyfriend and girlfriend.
No.
Yes, we were.
No,
Oh,
we was
my
not.
Yes, we were.
No, we
So
was
wait,
not.
now
Yes, we were. Yes, we were. Yes, we
No.
were.
So wait a minute. So Mr. Boston, you say you weren't in a committed
Yes, we were.
relationship.
No.
Yes, we were.
She done turned the friendship into a whole marriage.
OMG, like, for real, really? No, that ain't how it went.
Miss Murphy.
Yes, Your Honor.
So how long were you in this sexual relationship?
4 months.
We've got a live one here. Let's dig a little bit more around those protection claims, shall we?
You say you used protection the whole time.
Yeah.
Every time.
No, lying.
No,
He's
no,
lying. He's
no.
lying, Your Honor.
Because it
He's
wasn't
lying.
a lot of times, Your Honor.
He's
It
lying.
wasn't a
He
lot of
never
times.
used protection.
It was
he never
not
used
a lot of
protection.
times.
Never.
But it only takes one time to make a baby.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So why would you lead in this courtroom with a statement that says you gotta have sex to make a baby? Yes, you do, and you did.
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Oh, so it turns out this great evidence that Mr. Murphy has mostly means nothing, and there's a very real possibility that he's the father of this child? Yikes.
He started coming over my house, spending the night, and we had sexual encounters plenty of times on several occasions in my bedroom. When I first found out I was pregnant, he was happy. He came over to my house. He's like, oh, I found out you was pregnant. And I was like, yes, I am.
Your
I'm
Honor,
2 months.
Your Honor,
He rubbed my belly and everything. He was smiling and
She
everything.
was pregnant in the process of me being
No,
over a
no,
family member's house.
No.
Don't want to end up in paternity court? Try to find out the names of the people you sleep with. It's so easy. Just ask them, hey, what's your name? And they'll probably give you an answer. So even if you do end up in paternity court, you don't make the audience gasp in shock.
Say, well, congratulations. Tell her congratulations. Who is the father? So the lady like, she's saying you the father of this child. Oh yeah, so how far along is she?
2 months.
You know, I wasn't over your house for long, for a little while.
Oh, you're saying so there was a span of time that you didn't go over there at all?
Exactly.
And you feel like when you found out she was pregnant, when you calculated back, it was during the time that you weren't around?
Exactly.
Now that evidence is a little bit more convincing. Just a tiny bit more.
I'll talk to her. Yeah, I did go over there and talk to her, my friend, you know. So I asked her about this child. She looking at me, she looking all sour in the face. Why? So I'm like, so who's the father of this child? What's going on? She like you. So yeah, at the time, yes, I was a little tipsy, you know what I'm saying? But in my head, yeah, I got another child on the way, I'm gonna see how this work out. So after that little alcohol ran up off me.
That ain't no excuse.
Mr. Boston actually traveled to Chicago to see Ms. Murphy and her child after they moved. He told her to take a picture while he held Tristan and then asked her to upload the picture on Facebook. That doesn't sound like what someone might do if they thought a child wasn't theirs.
Mr. Boston and Tristan.
Yes.
Mr. Boston, is this you in this picture?
Yes, it is.
Were you holding the baby just because, or were you taking a picture with your son?
I wanted to see what part of me is in this child. But I have to, so long I was patient about the situation because maybe on down the line as the child get a little older, I will see some part of me in this baby. I still didn't see it.
So Mr. Boston has changed his story at least twice now. He first claimed he never slept with Ms. Murphy, got caught in that lie, then claimed he never claimed the child and has now been caught in that lie. Ms. Murphy says she is certain Mr. Boston is the father because he was the only one she was sleeping with consistently during the window of conception. However, he wasn't the only man she was intimate with during that period.
So why are you convinced that Mr. Boston is the father?
Because for the period of time when I found out I was pregnant, the time adds up. He was the only man that I was
No, I was not.
With. He was the only man that I was with.
You was intimate with other guys way before.
No, I was just intimate with one person.
Too many
after
guys
him.
that I already
after
knew
him,
out there was telling me her name.
After him, I was only intimate with one guy.
How you know her? Too many guys.
And the other man is Mr. Gregory, who claims he had intercourse with Ms. Murphy during the conception period, but never dated her.
Had a message on Facebook that she was potentially pregnant by you and you deleted her?
Blocked it.
He blocked me. He actually blocked me, Your Honor, because he had went back home to his girlfriend and he thought that I was gonna break up a happy home, which it wasn't nothing like that because I don't want to break up no happy home. This is about my son.
But you just testified in court just a minute ago that when you calculated up the time during the 4-month span, it was only Mr.
It added up to Mr. Boston.
Well, let's hope that's the truth because it's going to be a really awkward journey back home if none of these men turns out to be the father of Tristan. Let's see what the DNA test has to say.
Mr. Gregory, you are not his father. Mr. Boston, you are not the father. Miss Murphy, do you know who this child's father is? Thank you for the truth. Because you can't get anywhere till you tell the truth. As you come of age and get older, you're gonna learn that sometimes you just gotta put your big girl panties on and you got to tell the truth.
Mr. Norris says he's always known that Johnny Jr. isn't his son. However, Ms. Norris, his wife, claims that this is a lie and that her son Johnny belongs to Mr. Norris. Johnny Jr. himself is 30 years old, so this is a pretty old case.
When she became pregnant, I myself, I thought it'd be the right thing to do as far as marrying her. I was kind of forced into it due to the circumstances. But I loved her at the time, Your Honor. I don't deny that.
Yes, ma'am. It wasn't forced. And as he said, we were in love. I know that I was head over heels with him. And after having our son, we was married.
This looks like a fairly happy marriage. So what's going on? Well, it seems Mr. Norris was privy to some information that changed his mind. He says that the boy's grandmother, who is his wife's mother, told him that Johnny Jr. wasn't his.
She'd go out from time to time for a couple of days consecutive, and in the same breath, I was a young man. I was about 20 years old at the time, and I felt like she was sleeping around on me with her ex. And that her ex is the name that her mom used when she said that I wasn't his father.
Ms. Norris says that is a complete lie and that she was completely in love with Mr. Norris. She also drops a bombshell by saying that she and her son haven't seen Mr. Norris since her son's 8th birthday.
What happened was, prior to his birthday, her and I wasn't getting along. There wasn't no need me hanging around. And like I said, she had been gone, you know, she'd be gone from time to time. So I was basically just there, you know, him and I.
But Your Honor, he was the cheater.
So
okay, he was
I
the
moved
cheater.
to Seattle.
So you said she was cheating, she says you were cheating.
Yes, he was the cheater.
But why do you pick his 8th birthday to leave?
Mr. Norris admits that he moved and says he did it to get away from the entire family because he was completely done. That's a really horrible thing to do. However, he makes it clear that Johnny Jr. wasn't the reason he left, but his wife, and that's because they weren't getting along. That probably makes it all better, doesn't it?
He wasn't my son. When she said he wasn't my son,
he never...
that put a dagger in my heart because I was a young man and I felt like, you know, this is my first kid and he's a boy, so I was excited. And I mean, for her mom to say that out of anger, that's pretty deep, I think.
Why would she say something like that?
She was angry with him because the way he was treating me.
Ms. Norris says she has no control over what her mother says, so that cannot be a basis for Mr. Norris's paternity doubt. The fact that she also said it out of anger means that the doubt isn't running on a lot of decent evidence. Mr. Norris then says the fact that Ms. Norris didn't come looking after him for child support proves that she knows he isn't the father. Incredible logic there, Mr. Norris.
Sure enough, I left. But the thing of it is, her being a mother, you think that she'd look for me, you know, for child support, come after me for child support or something. She never even did that.
I was hurt.
And he's 30 years old, 31 years old.
I was hurt, I was alone, and he was gone. Why didn't you say where you were going? You didn't have to deal with me anymore, but that's your child, your son.
Ms. Norris only started to search for Mr. Norris 6 years before the paternity case, and she found him through a family friend online. Then she found out that he had remarried and started talking to his wife, Beverly, who for some reason took Ms. Norris's side.
Communicate.
That's so ironic.
You know, and we get along. We
women tend to take sides with one another anyway. They get on Facebook.
No, I don't go on Facebook. I don't go on Facebook, Your Honor, that often.
And
I speak with her on the phone.
And stuff like that.
On the phone.
Mr. Norris?
Really, I mean, right now,
He's a trip.
She don't know who Beverly is.
When Ms. Beverly found out that her husband might have a son from his previous marriage, she went digging around and discovered that he hadn't even divorced Ms. Norris when he got married again.
But you had no idea he was still someone else's husband.
And because
I had no idea I was somebody else's husband.
Come on, would you get off of that lie?
Like I said, it was a shotgun wedding to me.
It was still a wedding, Mr. Norris. I mean, look, was it some part of you that thought that this wasn't real because it was her parents?
I just didn't think it was real. And like I said, that was my first ever getting married or even...
Well, that's a lie, Mr. Norris. And the thing about paternity court is all lies eventually get revealed. Let's see what the DNA test has for us today.
Mr. Norris Sr., you are not his father.
I told you, Your Honor. I told you he wasn't my son, Your Honor.
Well, I believed he was, and I do apologize.
And I accept. Oh, my God.
It seems like even though you didn't believe it, that there's pain right now for you?
Well, it hurts, Your Honor, because I named him after me, Your Honor.
This is Ms. Manning's second time in paternity court. She previously appeared in court with another man claiming to be her daughter's father. That man turned out not to be the father, and now Mr. Haynes claims that he is actually Zoe's dad. He's quite sure about this and believes the DNA test will prove him right. Ms. Manning, on the other hand, says she's certain that Mr. Haynes isn't Zoe's dad.
I know Zoe's my child. Miss Manning is keeping her from me because she has another gentleman in the picture, and that's why I came to you for the answers.
So you are convinced,
Yes.
beyond a shadow of a doubt, that Zoe is your daughter?
Yes.
Seems like Ms. Manning finds this quite funny. Anyway, how can Mr. Haynes here be so sure that he's Zoe's dad? There has got to be some airtight logic, right? Because you'd ordinarily believe paternity claims made by women over the ones made by a man.
And so why?
Miss Manning sent me a picture, and I thought it was my son at first. It was actually Zoe, and so I took a picture of my son and her, and I compared it, and that's when I thought she was my child.
Ms. Manning, you are convinced Mr. Haynes is not Zoe's biological father?
Yes, Your Honor.
And why do you feel you know that for certain?
Okay, it's not a bad reason, but it's not the greatest either. Mr. Haynes here could just be confused, or Zoe and his son could coincidentally look alike. That cannot be the only reason, right? Anyway, Ms. Manning is 1,000% certain Zoe doesn't belong to Mr. Haynes.
Zoe was conceived at the end of October, and we had already broken up.
And so this picture here is a picture of Zoe?
Yes, Your Honor.
You sent that picture to Mr. Haynes?
Yes.
So why would you send a picture of her at all if you know for certain he's not her biological father? Why even send a picture?
I've never even told him that he wasn't the father. I just told him there was a possibility he was the father.
Well, Ms. Mannings, if you don't want someone to think he's the father of your child, you probably shouldn't tell them that they are the father of your child. How did these two even meet?
First met when I was getting a tattoo, and it was at her residence, and we only dated for a short period of time until she ended the relationship. So I ended up moving on and got with my ex now, my son's mom.
Was it a committed relationship when you dated, or were you dating other people?
It was a committed relationship.
Was it a
My
committed
standard.
relationship, Ms. Manning?
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh, okay, and we know not to trust Ms. Manning because she's once lied by her own admission by telling Mr. Haynes that he could be the father of her child. Mr. Haynes says he knows when they broke up down to the very date because it happened on the day a friend gave birth, and they were both at the hospital for it.
When did you find out you were pregnant, Ms. Manning?
In December.
In December. And so when you found out you were pregnant, you say now that you informed Mr. Haynes he was a possibility?
I didn't inform him he's a possibility until she was like 9 months old.
Oh, so you had the baby, and Mr. Haynes never knew? And you had the baby all the way till she was 9 months old?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Manning said that the only reason she sent the photo that Mr. Haynes now uses as evidence is because Mr. Haynes asked, not because she thought he was the father, but Mr. Haynes here says he never asked. For some reason, the story here just doesn't add up.
How did this happen?
I reached out to him.
And what did you say?
I had a baby, and it's a possibility she's yours.
Okay, and so he said, send me a picture. And that's what you sent. And once he acknowledged that, yes, I believe this is my daughter, what did you say?
I've never told him he was the father, and I've never told him he wasn't the father. It's always been, there's a possibility.
Well, that's not what Mr. Haynes thinks. Mr. Haynes says the only reason he waited for so long was because Ms. Mannings kept going back and forth telling him he's the father and that he isn't the father. He also says the fact that another man has been proven not to be the father of Zoe means there's a good chance that he's actually the father. That logic sounds good, but this is paternity court, and it doesn't always work like that.
But Ms. Manning, now, you stated it was between him and another man. And you were in this courtroom before, and we tested another man, and he was not the biological father. So does that automatically mean Mr. Haynes is the biological father?
No.
So there's another possibility?
The other possibility is on her birth certificate.
Having 3 potential fathers for one child just sounds really unreasonable. Thankfully, Ms. Manning says there are just 3 possibilities. So if Mr. Haynes isn't the father, then the last man is. But the last time Ms. Mannings was here, she also said that there were only 2 possibilities. So who knows if she's lying now.
Did you know about the third possibility, Mr. Haynes?
No, I did not until I found out last year when I seen on her Facebook saying that she was in this courtroom with the other guy.
Well, that was the first. I'm talking about the third is the one on her birth certificate.
Yes, I knew about him once I found out that she changed her mind saying that it's him.
On one side, we have Mr. Haynes, who repeatedly claims that he was told he was the father. And on the other side, we have Ms. Manning, who says she always said it was a possibility. None of them have evidence for their claims, so we just have to take them at their word.
Making all this up.
I've never told him he was the father if he wasn't the father. It's always always been there's a possibility between you and my ex.
So what happened November 2015?
That's when I received the last message that I was not the father.
What did she say in this message? Hey, on second thought, you're not father.
Yeah, pretty much in that words.
Well, that's certainly a possibility, but the question is, who's telling the truth? And why would Ms. Mannings be going back and forth on this matter? Well, Mr. Haynes' girlfriend is here to shed more light on that.
Where is this proof that I have said you are and you are not father? Because I feel like if I have said that, he would have kept it and held it over my head.
Actually, they've had a conversation where she said that I may have said that only because I'm angry at you.
Did you ever admit to that, Miss Manning, that look, I may be saying these things because you getting on my last nerve, I'm angry, and I'm just mad, and sometimes I don't want to be bothered with you, so I say you're not the father?
Well, now that Ms. Mannings has confessed that she said that, it's time to see what the DNA test has to say.
Mr. Haynes, you are not the father.
That's all I needed to know. Sucks that Zoe don't know her real dad. Maybe she should just get the other guy tested that's on the birth certificate.
Miss Manning?
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you positive that the man on the birth certificate is her biological father? Are you sure there are no other options?
No,
We've come this far.
Miss Martin here says she made a huge mistake around the time she conceived her daughter, Royal Blue. She says that this mistake threatens to wreck her relationship with her fiancé, Mr. Pinner. Mr. Pinner says he loves Royal Blue and hopes that she is his daughter, but if the tests say he is not, he will cancel his engagement to Ms. Martin and leave her alone. So there is a lot at stake here.
Well, at this point, me and Romeo have no relationship because of the paternity of our daughter. I made one mistake back in the past that he knew about, and now he's claiming that he knows nothing about it.
The relationship is in turmoil.
Yes, he completely moved out of the bedroom. Like, he lives in my living room.
Mr. Pinner already has a feet out of the door. He now lives in the living room, and the next step is to move out of the house completely. But he says it is not really about the mistake, but about the lies she keeps on telling.
She let me know right away, but it was a month later after she found out that she was pregnant.
Lying.
No, that's true. You know, when you feel like that is no trust, why would I fake it and just, you know, be laying in the bed with somebody that's already lied to me, then I'd be dishonest to the relationship.
But you were laying there before.
You were dishonest with me in the beginning, and you're dishonest with me now. The reason why I'm not sleeping in the bedroom is because I'm not sure if Royal is mine or not.
We've talked about this mistake, Miss Martin, and I think we need to understand exactly what was the mistake.
Well, there is a lot of talk about this mistake that Ms. Martin made, and if you have watched Paternity Court for a while, you probably already have an idea what the mistake is.
At the point in time, Romeo was doing him, as we say, partying, not coming home. I completely moved to Wisconsin with him. I even said, if I come up here for you, I'm about you, we're gonna do our family thing, and when I got up there, it went totally left. He left me in the home by myself. It'd be days at a time before I even saw Romeo. Okay, fine. You don't wanna come home? You don't wanna be a part of it? I'm gonna do my own thing.
And we all know what comes after that. It is the same story every time. It never changes. Judge Lauren has definitely heard this one loads of times.
Started having like parties and stuff, and then at that point, Romeo's still MIA and never called, he completely moved out of our home in Wisconsin and moved in with his mom and left me there.
Wait a minute, what was the mistake?
That I had a party one night and I had sex with another person, which, Your Honor, I did the very next morning. I did confide in Romeo. I told him
That's not true.
So here is what we have. On one side, we have Ms. Martin, who admits that she made a mistake and says that she told Mr. Pinner about the mistake. And on the other side, we have Mr. Pinner, who says, well, that never happened and that he was never told about this mistake.
After she found out that she was pregnant a month later, she said, well, I have something to tell you.
What?
I had sex with somebody, I had a party, and I woke up, I don't know if I had unprotected sex or not. And I don't really know who the guy was. And I asked her, I said, who do you have sex with? Blank man?
No,
because how do you not know who you slept with? That's just, to me,
I told you it was drinking and everything
that's
involved,
irresponsible.
but
so that is another dynamic. Ms. Martin has no idea who she slept with. If it turns out that Royal Blue does not belong to Mr. Pinner, Ms. Martin would basically have no idea who the father of her child is. There are some crazy situations we see in paternity court, but this one is insane. We can only hope that the child belongs to Mr. Pinner because every child deserves to know their father. Anyway, Ms. Martin denies that she did not tell Mr. Pinner about this.
To this day, I don't even know the person's name.
Wait a month. I told you the next day. I was honest from the jump.
So, Ms. Martin, did you tell him the truth?
No, she didn't.
Yes, Your Honor.
The day after.
The day
What
after.
did you say?
I told him that, I said, Romeo, last night, I ended up having a party. I know we got heavily intoxicated. And I know as a woman, I know that I did something. I know I did something.
Well, Mr. Pinner maintains that this never actually happened. However, he says when he did find out, he agreed to move forward.
It's true that I agreed to move forward after finding out that you was so irresponsible to have sex with somebody and not know who it is.
But the point is, I told you, you're acting like I waited a month later, and that is not the case. You are lying.
The point of the fact is she tells me that I'm not sure did I have sex with you before or after.
What are you talking about?
I had sex with that guy.
No, sir, we had sex 2 days after the fact that I told you.
No.
Mr. Pinner says that at the time they got separated, he still took care of Ms. Martin and was still paying bills, so she had no right to start sleeping around.
Taking care of that household. That still to me was my house. I had came there
You wasn't living in your house, it was your house.
I put everybody out.
Wait. I know there was a strain in the relationship. I can tell that. That's why you at party. But what I'm trying to understand now is we have this paternity question. And it's because, Mr. Pinner, you don't know for certain if you are Royal Blue's biological father.
Since the mistake/incident happened around when Royal Blue was conceived, Mr. Pinner certainly has reasonable doubts about whether the child belongs to him or not. Well, the only thing that can resolve this case is the DNA test result.
Mr. Pinner, you are the father.
I'm so sorry. From the bottom of my heart, I'm so sorry.
This has been so hard. This has been so hard.
I apologize.
Ooh, it's been hard.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I just
Can I give her a
move
hug, Your Honor?
forward.
Absolutely, if it's okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I love you.
Love you.
Can I move my stuff back in the room now?
I guess so.